Hello everyone. It's actually the last day of summer, if any of you have noticed that, and tomorrow is our first day of fall, so it's very exciting. We can already feel it. The temperatures are cooler, it's pretty outside, we've got the fall foliage, lots going on, and lots going on with weather as well. So we'll just jump right into it today, kind of talk about what's happening for our first week of fall, as well as our work week forecast. Now, just looking statewide, it was a pretty rainy weekend. We had a lot more rain yesterday than what we saw today, and that goes for Southeast as well, but Southeast is actually going to see a little bit more rain moving into Monday, and that's what we're mostly talking about today. And the interior also has some interesting things happening. There's actually a chance of snow for later this week, as well as the first freeze. So we'll jump right into all of that, but I just wanted to give you a view of what it's looking like statewide right now. All right, so as we look through the month of precipitation so far, we've seen quite a lot, especially in Southeast. So I pulled this up a few days ago, but I just want you to check out the amount in Ketchikan specifically, because we jumped from 9 inches up to 15.42 inches. So already a lot of rain, and we're just going to add to that going into tomorrow. Between 1 inch to 3 inches is expected in Southeast, and Juneau's actually going to get a heavy portion of that rain and what we're expecting to see. So as we move into what we're going to see for tomorrow, we have a low pressure system in the Gulf of Alaska, and that's going to be bringing in lots of heavy winds into Southeast, and that means that wind gusts are going to be up to 60 miles an hour for Southeast. So gale force winds expected in Southeast for Monday, and a high wind warning is in effect until Monday evening. So that's something that you need to pay attention to for Southeast, and we've also got some really strong winds off in the Aleutian chain, and we're also going to see some more strong winds moving in for Monday because we have another low pressure system over the Aleutians right now. So as we progress, we're going to start to see a lot more rain and winds moving into the Aleutians. So you can already see with our upper level forecast the atmospheric river in Southeast, and we also have a low pressure system just sitting in the Gulf of Alaska, and that's moving into the Juneau region. So that's why we're expecting to see so much rain, because that atmospheric river is shifting south, but then that low pressure system is starting to take over. So we've got the power from both the low pressure system and the atmospheric river. That's just going to add some more rain and what we're expecting to see for Southeast, as well as those high winds. And then over for the Aleutians, you can already see that atmospheric river moving through and more low pressure over that region. So we're going to see more wind gusts for the Aleutians, and some heavy rain moving on in. So there's that low pressure system in Southeast that we're expecting to see. And one thing I want you to try to look for in this graphic is the little purple blotches that are going to be moving through the more mountainous areas. So the interior, you're already seeing a lot of that moving on through for Monday. You're going to see some some snow moving into the Brooks Range, and we might see some snow moving into the interior later this week as we progress. However, if we do get any snow, any traces at all in the interior, those are probably not going to stick or last because the ground is still too warm for the season. So the snow is not going to stick for those, for areas like Fairbanks, but in those higher elevation regions, you will see some snow this week. But then you can see this other low pressure system moving in across the Aleutians, and then of course all of the colors happening in Southeast, and that's heavy rainfall as well as some snow in those higher elevation regions as well. So there's that system we're looking at for the Aleutians. It's pretty sizable, so you're already seeing that big band of rain that's going to start to move on through up the Alaska Peninsula by the time that Tuesday rolls around. So that's what you can expect to see, and with our rainfall, you can expect to see over 1 inch to 2 inches in Southeast. Juneau's closer to 2 inches by the end of Monday, and then we're also expecting to see over 1/2 inch of rain moving in for Kodiak as we still get some of the residual moisture that's lasting for South Central. But most of that moisture that we saw today is already tapering off going into Monday. So Monday might start off the day with a few scattered showers, and there will be some light scattered showers throughout the day, but it's mostly going to be in the morning and then drying off much, much later into the afternoon. So with our satellite and radar, we're expecting this special weather statement for the Aleutians. That's for the high winds that's going on and the heavy rain as well. And then the gale warning is, of course, for Southeast and the Aleutians, but the high wind warning is mostly for Southeast. So we're going to see that flood watch lasting through Monday evening, and then the high wind warning through Monday afternoon. So please do expect this. The high wind, it's going to catch you by surprise probably, but it is important to keep that in mind as well. But with our expected rainfall just for southeast specifically, over 1 inch to 2 inches in some areas, and even Sitka, look at that, 2.5 inches of rain moving in for Sitka. So it's really important to keep this in mind, and of course tomorrow we'll have more of an idea for any flood watches or warnings that are going to be updated and issued throughout the day. But just for the wind gusts, in case you missed it, we did have a peak wind gust expected at to 59 miles per hour. So, gale force winds moving in for the southeast region, and that's mostly for Sitka and areas like Juneau and Petersburg, but still, gotta treat it like everybody's getting affected by it. So looking statewide with our Alaska forecast, we're seeing those cloudy skies starting to roll on through. Western Alaska is still staying pretty dry, but the southeast region, of course, is continuing to get hit by those fall storms. So it's really important to keep that in mind this time of year. This is the wettest season that we're going to see, and of course the wettest month as well. So all of it starts to add up, and then that's when we see those bad flood warnings and landslides as well, which have been happening throughout the weekend. Now, another thing that I wanted to point out is that up in the North Slope, you're going to see some mixed snow in our little icon there. So we're expecting to see some mixed, if not very light snow moving in for the North Slope. But of course, like I mentioned earlier, the interior can also expect that later into the week, and I'll show you that in our 7-day. But just lots of things happening. Now, if you watch the broadcast, we've been having an issue with this specific graphic all weekend long, but our lovely Melissa Fry came in to help me out, and we got it fixed. So here is your southeast graphic for what we're expecting to see tomorrow, and you've got the heavy rain moving on in, and of course those really strong wind gusts. So at that point, temperature really isn't doing anything because you've got those really strong winds and the rain, which is the most important part. But temperatures in the 50s, which is this time of year, that's the average. The interior is seeing much cooler temperatures in the 40s for those highs, and just looking at our 7-day in a few moments, you'll be noticing much cooler low temperatures, getting closer to that first freeze of the season. But some light rain is expected for the interior, and up in the North Slope, especially Utqiagvik, a nice mixture of both rain and snow, if anything, but it's going to be very, very light. And I just want to stress that so you don't expect, a foot of snow, because it's just going to be very light traces of snow mixed with rain, if anything. So cooler temperatures moving into the 30s for North Slope, but Western Alaska seeing those temperatures in the 40s, already getting to that freezing point in some areas like Nome and Galena. So we're seeing mostly dry conditions lasting and partly sunny skies. And the Aleutians are going to start to see more of those rainy conditions moving on in, specifically for Adak and Cold Bay, with gusts up to 55 in Adak, and that's just going to increase as we get into Tuesday. Now, I skipped ahead a little bit too early, but one thing that I want to note for all of you in the Aleutians is that by Tuesday, wind gusts are expected to be 70 miles an hour. So that's pretty powerful, and I just want you to keep that in the back of your mind. I know we're not quite to Tuesday just yet, but it's going to sneak up on you, so keep in mind very high wind gusts for the Aleutians, getting up to 70 by Tuesday. Now for South Central, we're expecting those temperatures still in the mid-50s, but we're going to see some of that lighter rain moving on through in the morning, and then a little bit drier conditions by the afternoon. Copper River Basin is still going to get a little bit more of that rain, as they tend to do, but temperatures are still going to be pretty normal in the 50s. Now for Matsu, we're seeing those temperatures a little cooler in the lower 50s, but tapering off with some of those lighter rain showers in the afternoon. That's exactly what we're seeing in Anchorage as well. Those temperatures in the low 50s, getting much cooler, and then of course we're still going to have some light rain in the afternoon. So looking at our 7-day, just light rain tapering off for Monday afternoon. I expect your morning to start off with some light showers, so grab your jacket in the morning, don't forget that, but temperatures are going to start to dip down into the lower 50s as we progress through the week. Now the Fairbanks 7-day, I kept bringing it up. I wanted to show you Wednesday and Friday's forecast. Even heading into Saturday, we're expecting to see some mixture of rain and snow, and also that includes some sleet as well. So those more freezing types of precipitation is what we're expecting to see later on in this week. And if you'll notice, for Friday's low, 31 degrees. So we're getting much, much closer to that first freeze, and that might come at the end of this week. You never know, but that's kind of what we're expecting to see, and it's exciting. This is my first fall here in Alaska, and I'm already seeing how fast the weather is changing, and I'm sure all of you have dealt with that obviously a lot more than I have, but still it's really exciting. But lots of active weather happening, and for those of you in Southeast, I hope all of you stay safe with the with the heavy rain you're getting as well as those strong winds, it's nothing to be afraid of, but just keep an eye on it and stay cautious as well. So keep an eye out for any weather updates that happen, and I hope that everyone has a great rest of your weekend, even though it's coming up to a close in a few hours, but I hope you have a great start to your work week.